16th of January 24, and I've just, it's bizarre with Trump. I just heard about this, well, I heard about it yesterday, from the Iverson show on YouTube or something. Apparently Trump's bringing in a new government department in the tax agency area, and it's the external revenue service, not the internal. And this is looking for what he says ways that the US has owed money just by doing business overseas, trade. So, but it's quite comical because this basically sounds like corbynomics to me, you know, and it's one-dimensional, and it's the opposite of Reaganomics, you know, which was to do with free trade, which he used to go on about even under George Bush II or whatever, and most of the Republicans still in there, called the rhinos now, but even the ones that are in his cabinet or whatever you call, you know, they're probably Reaganomic things, free trade, and he's talking about protectionism basically. Donald Trump announced the creation of a powerful new government agency that will collect billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs from foreign countries. Now, if he was collecting them from the likes of Apple and probably Musk, Tesla, well, Apple anyway, keeping their money offshore rather than bringing it back and getting it taxed. And they don't even know why they're doing it. And what is it? They concentrate their shares so that it's just, they're appalling. Apple are appalling, really, to do with being a reputable company as part of a society. You know, the parasites, really. Yeah, if he was going after them, I would think that's great. But I'm not even bothered what he's doing here. But it is interesting to me that it just seems like protectionism, which Jeremy Corbyn was in favour of in his early days, putting tariffs on things from overseas to protect the workers of your country. That is the idea. But Reaganomics and all that have always argued that the opposite. They've said that what happens is you end up with trade wars. So he's thinking it's just so one-dimensional, and it's what Trump's like. I wonder if none of his cabinet agree with him, but they have to go through with that. But it will be interesting, because it'll be interesting to see if it works, you know. Because the current system doesn't work. Like I say, Apple have got billions offshore, from what I understand. It'll be interesting to see if it works. And the other irony about this is, like, the Tories in UK have always gone on about when we need a trade with USA and all that. I don't think we've ever had a real trade deal or a thing. So I'm not even sure if these trade deals are even worth it. And, you know, the idea is to do away with tariffs or something, but I don't know. I am today, and so it is ironic. He's creating another government department when he's meant to be a libertarian, where you do away with government departments, you do away with government waste, they call it. And it's funny as well that Elon Musk has been given his own brand new department in government, Doge, or whatever it calls, his Department of Government Efficiency or something like that, government efficiency. I think he's also got a Dogecoin as a Bitcoin or something. He was always going on about it. So he's been given his own toy government thing, creating more government stuff. His is made to do away with stuff, you know, but to collect our tariff duties and all revenue that comes from foreign sources, Trump wrote on social media. Trump argued that the United States government has relied too much on taxing Americans for revenue, specifically pointing to the much-loathed Internal Revenue Service efforts to collect more taxes. Who put in that much loathed? I don't think you should put something like that in. That's bias. Through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements, the American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It is time for that to change. I mean, to me, it just doesn't understand thingy, but with this I'm thinking, oh, alright, let's give it a go, see? Because I'm not in favour of free trade Reaganomics either, you know. Like, just go to the cheapest whatever, no matter what. So it is interesting when he does these sort of things. Here's his tweet. It's not a tweet, it's a truth, social truth or whatever he calls it. For far too long we have relied on taxing our great people using the Internal Revenue Service. Through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements, the American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It is time for that to change. I am today announcing that I will create the External Revenue Service to collect our tariff duties and all revenue that come from foreign sources. We will begin charging those that make money off us with trade, and they will start paying finally their fair share. January 2025. So he's going to do it straight away. Will be the birth date of the External Revenue Service. But the idea is all the other countries will just do the same, you know. Trump appears to be making his announcement to emphasise the amount of money the United States can collect from foreign countries on trade. We will begin charging those that make money off us with trade, and they will start paying finally their fair share. I mean, there's nothing to me. There's nothing Republican or conservative or right or libertarian about this in the least. It's the opposite. To me, it seems it's a socialist thing, ultra socialist. He's always going on about this, you know, raising tariffs on foreign goods. I mean, it seems so obvious, but then they do the same to you. Nobody buys your stuff eventually. Even as producers warn him away from sparking a trade war. So producers in his own country, USA, are warning him it will spark a trade war. Trump has proposed a widespread 10% tariff on global imports to raise revenue for the United States. He also views tariffs as an economic weapon, ecumenic weapon, as he has threatened China with tariffs as high as 60% if they do not do more to reduce the amount of fentanyl flowing into the US through Mexico. Yeah, I agree with that, yeah. Use it as a sort of punishment. You should do that for mass migration, especially. Trump has also proposed higher tariffs on Mexico and Canada if they do not do more to reduce the number of drugs and migrants coming across the border. Yeah. But it ends up probably not working the way he wants. But so it's all very interesting. I am a tariff man, he wrote in 2018. When people or countries come in to raid the great wealth of our nation, I want them to pay for the privilege of doing so. If Trump had his way, it's like he would eliminate income taxes altogether. I mean, I'm okay with income taxes being scrapped, but I'm in favour of enough money being collected by the government somehow to create a nice society. So whether that's hidden taxes like VAT or what. So if you can do some way of getting rid of income tax, getting it other way. I mean, to me, I would look to a billionaire tax, you know. During the campaign, Trump promised to end all kinds of taxes, including taxes and tips. Well, I don't really agree with that. You shouldn't be doing tips. I know in America tips are big. A lot of socialists say that that's actually you end up subsidising the employer because the workers are looking for the tips to make up their money, really. Social security benefits and overtime pay. When we were a smart country in the 1890s, this is when the country was relatively the richest it ever was. And I think he talks a lot of nonsense, really. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but it's probably, he just makes it up, I think. It had all tariffs. It didn't have an income tax, he said during the meeting, with barbers in New York City in October. So, let's see, I wonder what the people feel about it, his fans. So to me it just sounds like corbynomics, you know, in his young day. We used to be a country that made everything. Then business leaders decided to move their businesses overseas for the cheap labour, and the government let it happen. Back when we made everything, we had far fewer people on public assistance. I mean, this is just... I mean, the reason they moved overseas is because the employers were allowed to do that, like Musk or, you know... I wonder how this will affect Musk. So he and his advisors really believe that the US can collect taxes from foreign countries. A tariff is a tax on imported goods that consumers pay. I thought everyone knew that. Yep, it worked. I always look at the worst as well in this situation. Sorry it's taking so long. It will be Americans who will be paying them. All I know is he did similar things in his first presidency made more integral. So he and his advisors really believe that the US can collect taxes from foreign countries. A tariff is a tax on imported. That's the same. I read that one before. Tariffs are not paid by foreign governments or producers. Tariffs are paid by domestic consumers who pay higher prices. Tariffs are a tax on imports. When a car is imported with £1,000 tariff, the price of the car increases by $1,000 and the consumer pays that tax. Free trade is best for consumers with lower prices. So it just is bizarre, you know. And another thing, I looked on Grok to see if they agreed with my view, but I don't think they did. Although they did say it was populism. To protect domestic industries and possibly to raise government revenue. Critics argue that such policies could lead to higher consumer prices and potentially trigger retaliatory tariffs from other nations. Yeah, exactly. That's why the right have always said you can't do it. Conservatives and... Well, let's see what happens anyway. And like I say, to me it's a Corbynista policy. So I think Trump supporters are getting some shocks, you know. They've got... Israel's had to do a deal which they're very unhappy with. I talk about... So I asked it as a socialist concept and it said, not really, but it depends how you're distributing the money you collect. But to me it is a socialist concept. Tariffs and revenue. The primary focus is collecting tariffs from foreign entities. Protectionism is, rather than socialist ones, but the idea is the same because it's to protect your own workers. That's the idea. I think what he's trying to do is try to make Chinese cars dearer so that you'll buy an American car, you know, that sort of thing. So his economic policies have generally been characterised as conservative or populist. I mean, that's how he sees himself, as conservative, but it's just because he's one-dimensional when he's thinking of this. It's just a sort of... It's not a conservative thing, it's a socialist thing, and it's populist, really. And also it's expanding government, although... Was Corbyn in favour of tariffs asked? Well, they done the Brexit thing, but by then they'd listened to Keir Starmer and stuff, that they couldn't do that. But so I asked him again, when he was younger, when Jeremy Corbyn was younger, his views on trade and tariffs were shaped by his... Which were more... Protectionism for fair trade. Young Corbyn might have supported tariffs or trade barriers if they were aimed at protecting domestic industries, particularly in the context of ensuring fair trade practices. So that's what I'm saying, really. That's sort of the same thing. I mean, he was against joining the EEC in 1975. So, yeah. And the other thing I thought was bizarre about Trump was that statement he made about BRICS in December. The idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs. Here he has with tariffs again. And should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful US economy. They can go find another sucker. There is no chance that the BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. So again, he's telling other countries, you can't stop using the dollar. I mean, it's just bizarre. It's the most bizarre. I think this is the most bizarre thing he said. Certainly economic policy. They can't do what they want. He's saying they've got to use the dollar. Many of Trump's pronouncements, like his recent threat of 25% tariff hikes against Mexico and Canada and 10% against China, are designed to cow his perceived and gain the upper hand in negotiations. The BRICS were never going to replace the dollar with a new currency if they were making, but they might want to start using the Chinese one. But personally, I don't care. What I care about is mass migration stops, and I think them doing that won't stop the mass migration from their countries to the west. Because of that, I mean, what difference does it make really? I don't understand what difference it makes. It's just, it seems to be a sort of false thing. So, the dollar, its share in global reserves is nearly 60%, much higher than the next contender, the euro, at about 20%, while the Chinese renminbi, I mean, we don't even know what the Chinese currency is called, is less than 3%. The dollar's share in international lending and in trade invoicing is similarly elevated, while almost 9 out of 10 of every 10 foreign exchange transactions involves the dollar. The reasons are not mysterious to use. Its economy is huge, innovative and fast growing. I think it's like 25% of the world economy. Although they might be down now compared to China. China's coming up quickly, they're like 20% or something. Our financial markets are the deepest, most liquid and open in the world. The rule of law is strong, so that's very important, with investor protections that apply to residents and foreigners alike. So really, people just trust America, which is correct, they do. And US Treasury securities are considered among the safest in the world. So, I mean, this BRICS thing is going to be a disaster. It's going to be a Tower of Babel. I think it's basically it's how basically the West is going to end up if you take out the natives of West Europe and the whites of America. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, UAE. I think it's just a collection of 9 ego countries. I think they would be called the Global South. And probably they're very good at firing guns in the air and things like that, but people don't seem to want to go to their countries, and also the citizens there want to move to the West. Once these citizens don't want to move to the West anymore, I'm thinking, well, BRICS has worked out then, the way it is, because seeking to build to what they see as Western dominance of international institutions. So here's what they're saying exactly, is that dependence on the dollar renders them vulnerable to financial sanctions imposed by the United States and its allies. And that's exactly what Trump's saying, really, isn't he? They announced plans for an alternative payment system and unveiled a new BRICS banknote featuring the flags of its original members. The chances of them replacing the dollar remain exceedingly low, because they're going to argue amongst themselves. The rivalry between China and India, the pariah status of Russia and Iran, and worries about Chinese expansionism. And aside from Russia and Iran, the economic benefits of staying within the dollar sphere with its easy access to Western commercial and financial markets would far outweigh the chimerical appeal of an alternative currency. So even money prefers the West, So really, I think it's just interesting. I'll scroll down so you can read the rest of this. So it's really interesting what's going on, I'm interested to see what happens anyway. So, yeah, that's it. Goodbye.